Because reading is what?
Fundamental.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Do You Read BTS? I'm Lisa.
And I'm Delaze. Welcome back, guys. We know it's been a little bit of time, but we are back in it.
Yes.
So this week we read a Jimin story that is called Voyeurism. And I just had the picture pulled up, but of course, as soon as I need it, it disappears.
So just to let you guys know, last time that we talked about that we were going to do another story about Jimin, but what we found out is that story was not even finished.
Mm-hmm.
So as sad as we were, we had to pick another story. That story was so good, but we had to pick something else because we found out it was not finished.
So that's how we ended up with Voyeurism, which is by Jxngkookisdaddy. And that is on Wattpad. So we read this story. It was really good. Before we get into it, for some people that don't know, this episode probably should be 18 and up. But that's kind of where our podcast lies anyway. So, hey.
I was fitting to say that, girl.
So voyeurism, the definition, is the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others when they are naked or engaged in sexual activity. So it is a kink that people are into, and so yeah, we're not kink shaming on here. We're just gonna review this story.
Right. I like kinks,
Same.
But I didn't know about this kink. Like, I didn't realize it was a real thing.
Yeah, I have actually heard about this kink.
All right, so let's just get into it.
Okay, let's get into it.
So in the beginning of the story, it was the girl. Y'all know how we do. The girl has no name, so she is the girl. And this girl just graduated from college. She didn't just graduate from college. She graduated but paid all her debts off. And I was like, that's amazing. She did that in a year.
Okay.
So she graduated from college, started working, paid all her debts off. Then she bought a house. So when she bought this house next to two neighbors. One of the neighbors was Jimin, and one of the neighbors was Namjoon, and Namjoon was married to Jenny. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of put Jenny with Blackpink in my head. That's who she looked like. So, she moves into this, nice neighborhood, and I think she meets Namjoon first, doesn't she?
Yep.
She meets Namjoon first. He talks to her, let her know who he is and who his wife is. And he let her know a lot. Like, they about to be having a baby. They trying to have a baby. He just met this girl and he already told, we trying to have a baby. We trying to do this. We trying to do that.
The whole life story. You're like, dang, okay. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right. So she made friends with Namjoon fairly quickly. And then he tells her about Jimin that lives on the other side of her.
Wait.
I think is that how you pictured it? Because in my head, I pictured like she lived in the middle, Namjoon on one side, Jimin on the other side.
I did picture it like that. Initially, I thought it was like across the street, but then I realized that it was next door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, how is their window? How are they able to see that closely? Because some of the stuff that they did in the story, I'm like, how did they do that far away?
Well, obviously, the houses are pretty darn close.
Well, yeah, I have to be. They have to be right upon each other.
Really close so she could see a lot up in his house.
Right. But there's a part when she was talking to Namjoon and he was introducing her or whatever, or it might have been when she was moving her stuff. Oh, no. Yeah, and Jimin came out of his house, but he was like in a hurry to get to work or whatever, so she just kind of saw the back of his head, I think.
Oh.
Remember?
Well, wait a minute. She already seen Jimin then. Okay, so she's already seen. Okay, let me just go back then. She already seen Jimin before she even met Namjoon. She seen Jimin with another girl. And they was doing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they was doing the nasty, honey, and she was watching.
That's right. And that, okay. Yep, go ahead.
She was watching him. And she was getting off on watching him. Then she realized that she had this kid. I don't even think she realized it. She just knew she liked it. So when she watched him do his thing with that girl or whatever, get herself off, and as she talking to her friend, she telling her friend, what's her friend name?
Joy.
Joy, that's right. She telling Joy about it. Joy, it's a lot of Joys in all these stories now that I think about it. And a lot of Jennies too. Anyway, she's telling Joy about it. Joy is like, honey, you're not weird. What you're doing is voyeurism. She didn't even know the name of it.
Right.
And she said it's pretty healthy or whatever. Why don't you get close to Jimmy and tell him what you like, and then you really will have something going on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but go ahead.
So she wasn't really paying her no mind when she said that, but you know, she just was like, "Oh, this is what I'm into." Blah blah blah. So the next day she met Namjoon, and that's when he was like talking to her and telling him about Jimin, and he was trying to introduce Jimin, but Jimin was like in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
So she was looking like, "Oh my God, I hope he don't see me. I'm so embarrassed to like even look at him because I watched him have sex."
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't really see her. She thought. So,
right.
so he just basically left or whatever, and then you know, they went on merry way or whatever. Well, the next day, that same night, Jimmy brought another girl. Wasn't it another girl? Jimmy brought another girl the next day. Jimmy was a little freaking get outside.
Okay. He did. He stayed having women in his crib.
So Jimin, it really was only 2 women, really, and three because she wanted it. But anyway, but so the next day he brought another girl. She watched him have sex again, and you know, did her thing. And what has happened after that? The third night, was there?
So I think the third time was when she had already like talked to him about it. But before we get there,
no, the third time she watched him the third night, and he was jacking himself off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And she watched him do that. But this time, she was like visibly playing with herself and hoping that he didn't open up his eyes to see her.
Okay, so this is what I'm confused about. How is she seated that she's able to sit there and stare at this man's window while this is happening and not be seen? Well, I mean, you know where I'm going with this, but like, what windows do you have that you would not be seen standing in the middle of it staring at this man? Like, I don't understand. Was she in the corner of the window? Like,
well, in my head, I felt like it was too dark to be seen the first 2 nights when he was with those women. But the third night, I don't think it was, I don't know, this is just in my head now, y'all. So in my head, I felt like he could see her, or she was too lazy to get up and turn them lights off the third night, and she was just into it and hoping that he did not see her. But which, you know, like I said, those houses had to be really close.
Had to be.
And everything he did it in his living room. He never did it in his bedroom because she could see from her bedroom to his living room.
Right.
So he was on his couch and she was on her bed in her room. Where was your bed at? Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, what's going on? So but yeah, in my head, girl, and this is gonna sound freaking psychotic, but this is how I pictured it. Cause I was like, this is weird. Like, how was she anyway.
I don't know. In my head, I pictured that her bed was pushed against the wall, which is where the window is.
See, in my head, the bed was facing the window. Like,
that would be not worth it. You had to sit up the whole time and look up and then sit back and try to do your thing.
Well, if the window was up, I thought the window was direct, girl. So I thought the window was directly in the line of sight of a window.
Yeah.
I mean, the bed was in the line of sight of the window. So that's how I pictured it. So I didn't think about her having to look up. But I also thought when the first time I was like, well, she just, like, in my head, she was just standing there in the middle of the window.
Just standing up.
Just standing up watching him like a freaking weirdo. Like, that mess was funny in my head, but...
Or she could have been laying down with her head turned towards the window.
Ooh, okay. I didn't think about that positioning.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, so we just went off somewhere, but it's cool. So these 3 nights have happened, and she's at the grocery store one day, and she is getting like some stuff for the house, and she ends up running into Jimin. So she by this point has seen his face. And so when she ran into him, she kind of like froze because she was just like, oh my gosh, like, what am I about to do? Is he going to recognize me? Whatever. And he's just like, oh, hi, sorry about that. Because I think he bumped into her or something like that. So she dropped her stuff.
I know you from somewhere.
Yeah, well, and she's like, I just got a familiar face. Like, he's like, no, I think I know you from somewhere. And then she said something. He was like, yeah, probably. Didn't that happen when he picked her favorite chips?
That happened when they went to the store with Namjoon and her and Jimin.
Oh, okay.
For a party.
Just kidding. For the party, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they have that interaction, and then that's kind of that scene. After that, I mean, she goes to work and things like that. Oh, which we need to include. She works with JK. Her boss is Hobie's dad. Hobie, Taeyoung, Jimin all know one another.
Jin?
Well, Jin
Everybody
and
was in
Namjoon
this
and Yoongi all know each
sometime.
other.
Oh, yeah. The only person I don't know them like that is JK.
Right. But he's friends with Tae.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway. So she works with JK. He's kind of weirdly flirting, but she's not really catching it. Especially because she's been having these this stuff with Jimin or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I skipped because I know they have a conversation at a point, but
it's okay.
Yeah. So she goes to work, does her thing, comes home, and is it that same day that they end up actually speaking to one another about the situation? Something happens that caused them to speak about it, but I forgot what it was.
They spoke the time before she had the party. I thought that was the first time they spoke is at the grocery store.
They did. They spoke at the grocery store.
But I'm talking about really talk was in the grocery store. Because, Joy came down.
Oh, that's right.
And Joy said, you need to get good with your neighborhood. So the way to do it is to have a party. So Joy, I don't know what happened to Joy, but she ended up going to the grocery store with Namjoon and Jimin. Because Namjoon invited Jimin. And that's how they kind of got together and started talking. And that's when Jimin was like, oh, I know a lot of things. I bet you I can pick your favorite chip. Like they was figuring out what to get for the party.
Right.
I don't know what happened to Joy there. Where'd she go?
I don't remember.
I think Joy was coming for the party, but hadn't got there yet. And she was getting ready for the party. So that's when Jimin was like, I can pick your favorite chips. So they got a bunch of chips and alcohol, all the stuff they needed. She got one little thing of beer.
Right.
And they was like, you gonna need more than one case of beer.
Right. Like, girl, what you about to do with that?
Right. So they got everything for the party. She figured out that Jimin was figuring out what kind of her favorite chips was and like little stuff about her. So they started to get ready she went home, got everything, started getting ready for the party. That's when Joy came along. They got everything set up and everything. And then guests started arriving. And once guests start arriving, that's when she was starting to drink her favorite drink, which was, what was it?
Malibu and Sprite.
Oh, sounded horrible.
Right?
It's like heartburn ready to happen.
Man, it just sounded super sweet in my head. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, she was getting her favorite drink or whatever, and then she was kind of just waiting for Jimin, really. come over because he said he was coming. So then he
Right.
came, and when he came, he fixed his little drink and they start doing beer pong.
Oh yeah, and he was such a sweetie. This is a detail that's probably not needed right now, but I just thought it was cute.
Uh-huh.
So she started to get a little bit tipsy, and to prevent her from having to drink too much, he ended up switching it out for her favorite alcohol. Because
Yes.
he knew that she could handle those.
Yeah,
I was like, that is so cute.
I know, right? Because he didn't make her drink the beer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's cute.
that she got good and tipsy, and he did too. And then, like, before you know it, they had played so long, he had like figured some stuff out about her, or they were just talking back and forth. Anyway, the daylight started coming up, and they end up just like going home. He was like one of the last one to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, then.
But when did, I can't remember when they had the conversation about what she liked. Because I remember there's a part where he ends up saying something to her and he's like, I know you've been watching me. But like, I just don't remember where they were at when the conversation happened.
I think they were going out to eat then. Remember, at some point they were going out to eat, like them two all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know what happened. He won the game, so she had to do breakfast.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
the breakfast. Yep.
Yeah, so Jimin won beer pong. When he won it, she had to buy breakfast. So the next morning, even though they were just going to bed, the next morning they had to get up and meet for breakfast. So they both woke up a little late or whatever and got ready to go to breakfast. And that's when they were talking while they were eating breakfast and all that good stuff. And then he figured out, who she was, and he got to telling her that he seen her while she was playing with herself, while he was playing with himself.
Mm-hmm. And then he wanted to ask all these questions about like how long she'd been watching him and if they could set up a kind of friends with benefit situation where that happens. And so in doing all of this, they make a whole list of what like the do's and don'ts and how it will go down and all that. So one night they end up going out to a club and they find this one girl that they're both like attracted to. It was I'm guessing it was a strip club, right?
Yeah, it was a strip club, but at this strip club they had poles on the tables. So the strippers would come to their table and dance on the pole. I thought that was cool though, because I've never seen that.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
So the strippers would come to them and dance on the pole on the table.
Yeah, so they ended up choosing to take this girl home. I think it was Hwasa that they selected to take her home. Oh wait, no, it happened twice, right? No,
it happened
that one time. That was it.
They went out. It happened. Did it happen? Yep, it happened twice. Okay, the first time.
Oh, so the first time wasn't.
The first time they didn't go to the strip club. The first time they went to a club.
Yeah.
And when they went to a club, he let her pick who she wanted to see him have sex with. But because it was her kink and she knew that it was something that everybody is not into, they didn't tell the girl. So she just knew she was going home with Jimin. So first, the girl was flirting with her at first.
Yep, there we go. That's what I was about to say. Yeah, the girl was flirting with the girl hard.
Right. She was flirting with her first, but then, they ended up just going their different ways. I don't think she knew what she wanted. She didn't know she liked to watch. She just knew, she was like, where'd a girl go? And then the girl was already gone.
Right.
So Jimin ended up taking her home. They went like their different ways. And she went to her house just to watch them have sex. And he went in on the girl now.
Sure did.
He was eating out and everything for it to be his first time.
I mean, I know. I was like, dang, okay. These are all types of stuff. So, yeah, so they have that first situation. Dang, I got a lot to cut out. Okay, so they have that first situation. My gosh. Happen or whatever. And then she feels super awkward the next day. And he's like, this doesn't have to be weird. Like, it really can just be chill, whatever. And she's like, okay, but how do we get cool? And he's like, we could just do stuff together. So they go out and eat and all this other stuff, and it's cute. Well, during this time, like, feelings are starting to develop, and Jimin tells her, like, I actually, like you. Because he invites her out again, and she's like, well, we don't have to always. And he's like, I like you. So she's kind of stunned. Backstory, homegirl's got a lot of trauma in her past, and she ends up telling Jimin later on what happened, but I'm gonna just tell y'all right now. So she was dealing with this dude, and like things were going fine or whatever, but then like he told her that he was really sick. He told her that he had cancer. And that, isn't that crazy? And then she was like calling him to make sure he was good, trying to take care of him, all this other stuff, but he never answered the phone. This man ghosted her.
Right.
And she was like ruined from that. Which completely understand. So my question, because I think I was telling you this yesterday, I know you've been married for a bit, but like, have you ever been ghosted? And if you have been ghosted, what's like the wildest story that you heard about? Like,
I have never been ghosted before.
Kudos to you.
I've never been I don't. Girl, you already know my backstory, okay?
But I've
never been ghosted because I don't know. Let me think about this for a second. No, I've never been ghosted, or even if I did, I didn't realize it because I was on to the next one.
Oh, that's true. I get what you're saying.
I didn't give them a chance to ghost me, like,
because he was already like, okay, anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you didn't answer the phone. Well, you call. Like,
that's so funny. So the wildest story I have ever heard from being ghosted happened last year.
Oh, yes.
It was so funny though, because like as the story's happening, I'm just like, that didn't happen. Like, you can just tell me what really went down. So I already know. Like, just stop being stupid. I already know what happened. Just, okay, you're going to tell me the story. All right. But that was probably the wildest situation I've ever had for being ghosted. Other times it's just been kind of like, that's, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy. When I saw that part, I was like, this man said he had cancer?
Yeah, that was a little bit, yeah.
That's extreme.
Yeah, real extreme. Like, that's a big lie. Like, you just don't play with cancer.
You don't. You don't. I just realized I never even said the story.
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't say the story. So the story was, I was dating this guy, and things were like cool or whatever, and he came down to visit me, and on his way back he claimed that he fell asleep and his car was towed, and he woke up in the tow yard, which, okay. So, because you're like, there's a lot of things with that can't actually happen, I don't believe, so you're just kind of like, all right, whatever. In my head I knew what happened, but I was still kind of confused. This man never talked to me again. I called him. He never called me back. He never answered my phone. Like, he ignored me forever, blocked me on stuff. I was like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, you could have just said whatever it was, and then that would have been fine. But that was my wildest story. At this point, I hope it's the last one. Yeah, it was crazy. Looking back on it, it's like, it's kind of funny, but at the time, that was some bullshit.
Yeah, that was not funny to me at all. I was very mad.
That was some bullshit.
Right.
That was crazy. I'm like, you could have just said you didn't want to be with me. That's fine.
I mean, really looking back at it, I feel like maybe I probably did some ghosting myself. Maybe that's why I've never been ghosted. But now listening to you say that, there's some bull on my end. I'm wrong for that. Like,
girl,
I'm just saying.
We have all been a victim or have done it. Like, it is not. I know, but I am a huge fan of just being like, yeah, I'm just not feeling you like that, or like or just being honest about it. I am a huge advocate for that, because it's like, for what? But I have also been the person that was like, block and delete.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway. So yeah, so she tells him this at some point, but so Jimin's like telling her he actually has feelings, and she's pretty much freaking out because she's like, I can't like this man, because if I like this man, he's gonna hurt me, and then I'm gonna be broken again. I just don't know what to do. So she kind of like keeps him at a distance in a sense, and then that following time they end up going to the strip club, and they end up bringing Hwasa back, except this time she actually is in his apartment. That scene just sounded so good because the smut in this was like A1.
And I love Hwasa in this though.
I do too. I was like, okay,
it seemed like that's her personality.
Like, that's so funny.
It just seemed to me like that would be her personality. Like she was kind of like cut and dry.
Yeah.
It is what it is type of personality.
Right. So Jimin did not actually have sex with Hwasa though. I don't think he kissed her either.
No, he didn't. He didn't kiss her. All he did was pretty much finger her.
Because at this point, Jimin's like really feeling some type of way about old girl.
And quickly,
and like creepily a little bit, but like understandable because you know there's no time frame on love or whatever. But yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and tell that backstory of why Jimin is like this.
Okay, Jimin's backstory. Boom.
Right. So Jimin's backstory is that Jimin had a friends of benefits because this is what he's doing with her. A friends of they haven't even really got to the benefits, but they were trying like a friends of benefit kind of thing in their own way with her liking the voyeurism and everything. So they were doing that, but Jimin had already done this before with another girl. The only thing about it is like he knew it was like a dance partner that he. Okay, Jimin used to love to dance. He used to be in dance class and all this good stuff before he did real estate. And he ended up being in a like kind of a relationship with this girl. He spent all his time with one girl all the time, even though he knew that she was in a relationship. You see what I mean? Or did he know?
No, he didn't know. No.
Okay, he didn't know. So he just knew it was a friends and benefits type thing.
Yeah, and they had been like going strong for a while, and then like he started really catching feelings for her, and he always like was there to support her, whatever. And then he came into dance class one day after she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go," and he comes in one day and she's there with her boyfriend, and she ends up telling him like, "Oh, our instructor said that we didn't have any chemistry, so I just did this to further my career." Yeah. Like, the people in this book are shitty.
Yes, for real.
Like, what the hell?
And Jimin puts his all, when he likes somebody, he puts his whole everything for this person. Like, he gives up everything. Like, it's like, oh, it's not about what I like, it's about what you like.
Right. He never, is thinking about him.
Right. And so, yeah, he had already started doing that for the girl. But very fast before she even noticed that's what he was doing.
Right, right.
So when they was with Hwasa, he wasn't thinking about getting himself off, which every man would be. He was thinking about what he could do for her. How is this pleasing her? So he didn't do anything with Hwasa other than like play with her in front of her. And she watched her get off while playing with herself. Yeah. So, yeah, but she had already noticed, Dad, he didn't even kiss her. Dad, he looking dead at me. Why he doing this?
I could tell, in my head that stare was intense.
And so, yeah, that's how that went. So they just did their thing, and then Hwasa dipped off. Hwasa know how to play her role. She was like, I'm just getting in while I'm fitting in.
Right. She's like, all right, y'all.
all right, y'all, bye.
I'm out. Oh, man. So all that is happening between them. As that happens, it's starting to grow. And Jimin eventually tells her, like, anytime you want me, you can have me. Like, we don't have to do this. And she's really hesitant because trauma. And she's just like, oh, well, you know, I don't know. But in the back of her head, he has no idea, like, what happened to her. So when, I'm trying to think. Okay, well, let me go to a kind of a side story. So as she's going to work, JK is kind of, he ends up asking her about, like, if she has a boyfriend or something like that. So she tells him, like, well, I'm dealing with this guy and I'd like to see it go see where it goes. Like, you're nice and everything, but, like, I'm cool. Well, he took that, but didn't take it.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be way worse in this story than he actually
Me
was.
too. I was waiting on it.
Me
I was
too,
very like, first he was like portrayed, I was almost like the nerd, the one that's getting picked on at work and all this good stuff. And then Tay comes and Tay make you feel like, oh, he backsliding. You know what I mean? Like he's a...
Yeah, he made it seem like he be just putting on a role, but he really
Right.
gonna, like, take somebody's girl.
Right. Like, yeah. Yeah, he didn't do none of that, though. He tried a little bit.
Yeah. Because we'll get there. Okay, so that happened. So that's happening, and he's on his thing. Okay, so now they go to, I don't know where they went. They went somewhere to eat. And on the way home, Jimin was in the car, and he ends up crying because he tells her about the whole situation, about his backstory. So now she understands him a little bit more and is willing to kind of open up a little bit. So they kind of do their thing. So things are developing, things are growing. Okay, so I'm gonna skip like far ahead.
Right.
So so Jimin's a realtor and a real estate agent, and the girl works in like a finance, I'm guessing, department. Is that what it is? And they end up working together. And so Jimin comes to the office fairly often or whatever, and he has this coworker named Sowon or Sowu or something like that.
Yeah, but at this point, Jimin and her are together.
Yeah, so by this point they're together. They've been together a couple of months.
Yeah, like when that happened with him crying in the car, like he was telling her his feelings. She knows his story. He knows her. Like, don't they know each other's backstory now?
Yeah, at this point, because when she finally told hers, because she had asked him to do something for her first. I think they was about to have sex, and then she would tell him whatever he wanted to know about the situation. So she told him and was like crushed afterward. Not crushed, but like just exhausted from crying about it.
Yeah.
So they knew. Yeah, you're right. They knew each other's stories by this point.
Right, and then they actually was having sex by this point.
Yeah.
With each other, and he was like, Jimin didn't need nothing else after he had her. Like, he didn't need no other girl.
Yep. Never even talked about another one.
So now they're working together or whatever, and
and so Jimin has that coworker. And so she has already explained to him, like, I get really, really jealous, blah, blah, blah. She's had an issue with this girl in the past, flirting with Jimin, and had asked him to say something to her about it and the fact that he has a girlfriend. So this time at the office, she's flirting with him again, and a homegirl is like, I know the hell she's not doing this after I just told him to tell. So she ends up getting kind of upset about it. Jimin notices Jungkook is over there talking to her, and so he starts feeling some type of way. So he ends up pulling over JK, and they start kind of getting into it loudly. And then the old girl comes up and is trying to like hush him because they're still at work. They're still at work. So Mr. Jung starts to come, or I think they ended up pushing each other into another room so that they could talk like separately, so that it wasn't a thing, or to meet after work or something like that. So at this point, they don't talk to each other, right? I was gonna say they don't talk to each other for like a few days, and
is this where they were fighting?
Yeah.
Okay, because the reason they were fighting is because Jimin was jealous of JK, and he already had told. Yes, I think before that she told him not to, because before that, didn't he tell her not to? She told him not to talk to that girl like that, and tell the girl that she had a girlfriend.
Yeah, so she told him to tell her that, and he said he did.
Right. And he did, but then when Jimin saw JK and JK and the girl, he got jealous.
Right.
And when he
And so
got
they were
jealous, he got like really jealous. Like, I don't want you talking to him jealous.
right, because they both were mad at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like getting into it or whatever. I think he went to go storm into the office to like quit at a point, and then they were like, "Wait a second, this is crazy." So he tells her he wants her to stop talking to him altogether, and she's like, "I'm not doing that. That's crazy." Well, I don't think she ever really said she wasn't doing it, but she was just like, "Why?
Yeah,
This
she
is
did.
dumb."
She said she wasn't doing that. That's her coworker. Like, it's not like that. And he was like telling her, I know he wants you. You need to quit talking to him. And you told me to not, to tell her that I had a girlfriend. And so I did. So why you ain't listening to me? And she was like, there's a difference between me telling you to tell her you got a girlfriend. You telling me not to talk to him altogether. And that's not gonna
Right.
fly.
Right.
And so then that's when they started like fighting, didn't talk to each other for a couple of days. And then come to find she basically just broke up with him. After
But
they
when
met back up.
yeah, but so before that happened, as they're like walking out, JK is smirking about the whole situation.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so go ahead.
Well, anyway, they end up just like talking after a couple of days, and she was just telling him that he put too much of how do I say this? He do too much for her. Like he don't like as she got to thinking about it when they was broke up, she got to thinking he doesn't dance anymore. He don't do this no more. He don't do that no more. The only thing he do is be with me. Like that's the only thing he do. And she was very insecure in herself because of what happened with her prior relationship.
So we forgot to mention something.
What?
For there was like 6 months or something like that. Jimin threw a big old party and invited all of his friends, her family, like all oh wait, no, his brother.
His
brother and all of his friends. And Tay told girl,
to watch out.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he told old girl to watch out during that time.
Uh-huh.
At the party, she was like already freaking out because she's like, I met his brother. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, why are we doing this? It's so soon.
Yeah, she had a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. And then they ended up having something later on where she met his whole family, like his mom, his dad, her parents was there, and she ended up having an anxiety attack in the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by this point, he had given her a necklace, like it was like a bunch of stuff, but she had an anxiety attack. And then after that, that's when they break up. Like after all that happens and they have the argument, isn't that when they break up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
That was like leading up to that. And then they broke up, and then she was like, you need to find yourself again, because the only thing that you're doing is doing everything for me. And I am too, what's the word for it? She was like jealous. Like she always thought that he was still talking to that girl, even though he clearly wasn't. You see what I'm saying? Like she was very insecure.
She was still dealing with her.
Insecure was the word I was looking for. She was very insecure. Like, so she was trying to deal with that herself. So she was like, we need to break up because you need to find yourself and I need to deal with my insecurity. I can't get over this. Bless you.
Thank you.
I can't get over this. So, and then they were crying really hard. And then they just agreed that when they done better for themselves, that they would get back together.
Yeah.
And so it was sad. They both went their own separate ways. But the thing of it is, they both still meet. Like they really wasn't really doing anything,
right?
Like they didn't they loved each other. They wanted to be with each other. She was still insecure, but she had to find what was going on within herself. And it wasn't until her friend Joy had to tell her about herself till she figured it out. But go ahead, girl.
Joy did tell her about herself.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
No, just after they broke up, they just really went through it. And then JK was, one day at work, he was like, oh, you really going through something. Let's go out to a club. And she was like, no, because she had already remembered what Tay had told her about JK to watch JK watch JK or whatever. And, she was like, I will go out with you, but only if I can take my friend Joy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Joy was at the house. They got ready to go, and she didn't even dress worth nothing either. She had like a pullover and like
some jeans.
she wasn't dressed up or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But but then Jimin was like, "You look beautiful." Like,
right, like Jimin, just sit.
Yeah, like she was going out. When she got to the car where Joy was at, Jimin came out to talk to her. He was really just telling her how he missed her and all this stuff. And then they talked a little bit, and then he was like, "Oh, we'll talk later or whatever," because Joy was ready to go. So they dipped off, went to the club, and JK got drunk at the club. And what else happened, B?
He got drunk at the club. She ended up calling Tay to come pick him up because she was like, "No, I'm not doing this." And he came and got him, and then
but JK was trying to get her lit though.
he was definitely trying. And then of course the club that they were at was the one that Haas was working at. So then she was like, "Oh, the other guy, like, you guys really had great chemistry," or something like that. She was just like, so yeah. So after that situation happens, her and Jimin end up meeting up for food or something like that. Oh wait, the gift basket that JK got her. When did that happen?
Oh Lord, we skipped that whole thing.
We skipped that whole thing. I forgot. So okay, there's a point where
it wasn't
JK...
it wasn't that serious, like though. But you can talk about it.
Okay, so there's a part where JK is kind of getting like bullied at work, but it's not really that bad or whatever. So she's like standing up for him. So she's home one day and there's a knock on her door, or that same day, and there's a knock on her door, and JK has a thank you basket for her because he felt, that she didn't have to do that to defend him or whatever. So she takes it and just kind of like, okay, thanks, and he bounces. So flash forward to when they're having that dinner and Tay tells her to be careful of JK. He ends up telling her that he bought the basket. He was with him when he bought the basket. I was like, man, this is about to be crazy. He about to be a villain.
I know. And then Tay was like, "You really think he is a tough boy?" He was like, "You really think that he was sitting up there just getting bullied? Right. He can hold his own. He just did that for a reason."
That's why I thought it was going to get worse.
Right, but it never did.
It never did. Same with the girl, Jimin's assistant or whoever she was. I thought that was going to be a thing. I thought JK and that girl were working together to get them to argue like they was.
Yeah. Oh, they had went to that club. Remember, they went to the club. And JK had got drunk, but before JK had, like, when he was drunk, she was talking to him, and she was like, she realized she was just trying it with JK though, right? And she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna see how much, what he think of my like kink." She was like, "Oh boy, you can't handle me. You can't handle what I do. I like to watch people have sex." And he was like, "Oh, you can't be that creepy." Like, she knew that he was gonna forget that, so that's the reason why she said it, just to see what he was going to say, because honey, a drunk man tells no tale. Okay. Girl. So she was just like, "Oh, he's going to tell the truth about it." So when she told him about it, he was like, "Oh, there's no way you're that creepy, blah, 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 blah." She was like, "Oh, that's how you really feel about, so that's how I know you could not handle me," or whatever. So yeah, like you said, she ended up calling Tay to come and get him, because he was too drunk to drive home. And she ended up driving Joy's car home, because honey, Joy, which I don't know, we forgot to tell y'all, when they had that whole dinner, Joy was there. Joy was there, and she met Jen. I love Jen in this story, because I know. I know.
He was in her face.
Listen, I know this is how Jen really is in real life, okay?
Girl, has to be. I could totally see him being that super like smooth guy that's just like, "Hey, girl, I just wanna like." Yeah, I could totally see.
Right, and he was just I look good, you look good, so what's up, basically.
Man, he was on her hard.
Right, but she kept like denying him. So anyway, when they went to the club, she seen him again, and she ended up getting drunk, spending her whole night with him. But she liked him since then.
I want to hear that story.
Right, that's the story that needs to be told, right?
Yes.
So anyway,
Definitely.
she ended up seeing Jen at the club. They hung out all night. She ended up getting Joy at the end, driving Joy back to the hotel room, then driving her car to her house.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she got to the house, she seen Jimin. Jimin was still sitting there in his suit.
Mm-hmm.
Jimin was asleep outside. So then she got to Jimin. Jimin had been sitting there all night and she was like, you dressed up? Was you showing a house? He was like, yeah, because Jimin shows house all time of the night. Whenever anybody he has high end customers. So whenever they want to see a house, he has to be ready to go right then and there. It don't matter if it's 1, 2 o'clock at night, he go. So he was up and then when he got back from showing a house, he went to her house because he didn't think she was going to be out so late, but she was. So they just kind of talked then. It wasn't a lot of talk. They just basically told each other they did miss each other or whatever. And what happened? He ended up telling her good night. She told him good night and whatever.
Yeah, and that was kind of it for that part of it.
Yeah, go ahead, girl.
So I'm about to skip a bunch.
Well, it's almost over at this point.
Yeah. So it kind of, at some point during this story, Namjoon and Jenny do get pregnant. And so, where I'm flash forwarding to is them being out to dinner. Really a flash forward.
They got back together.
Well, yeah, they got back together at this point, and everything was good. And her and Namjoon.
Well, wait a minute. Listen, the reason why they got back together is because she ended up talking to Jenny on the phone. Jenny then went back now, y'all. We time skipping. Jenny then went back. She talking to Jenny on the phone. She just basically talking to her. Jenny started fussing her out. Like, girl, this man is good, okay? He not no fly by night. What's wrong with you? Get yourself together. Go get your man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she did. And they both talked about what was going on with them and how they were going to agree to fix each other. Mm-hmm. And they got back together.
They ended up having the baby. They end up going out to eat on a double date or whatever. Or they don't have the baby yet, but they go out on a double date to go eat. And as they're like eating, everything's going well. Her water breaks, or she has a contraction or something like that. So they get to the hospital. She has the baby, whatever. So flash forward. Now that the baby's around, they've been dating for 2 years or a year or two or something like that by this point. She goes to this house. He has her meet her at this house. Now, they went to a house one time before, and his boss was there, and she was kind of rude to the girl. But they went back to that same house because the people didn't buy it. So she gets to the house, and she's, looking around or whatever, and she realizes where she's at. And Jimin's kind of do you like the house? And she's like, yeah, I remember this place or whatever. Well, then in walks her mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's kind of trying to put the pieces together, what's going on? And so they get there, he's in the house, and you guys know what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
And that is pretty much the end of the story.
Well, yeah, they end up getting he pretty much tell the girl, yeah, you want this house, we gonna get this house. He ended up selling his house. They lived together in that house, and yeah, that was pretty much the end of the story. They got the babysit the baby a couple times. What else happened? That was pretty much it.
That was pretty much, yeah. I mean,
they live happily ever after.
Exactly. That's why I was like, the rest.
I thought they was gonna get married and have kids.
I thought they were too, but
yeah, that's where it ended.
Got their thing. Yeah.
But I will say this Arthur was really going through some things. Okay.
Oh man. So something I wanted to mention, and thank you for saying that. She was literally recalling or they, I'm not sure if it's a girl or a guy, or how they identify, but they wrote almost like a journal of their day to day. And so when they were writing this story is when the George Floyd murder happened, and she's like outlining kind of her day to day and how she was going through it. And there's the story about the girl being ghosted and the guy saying he had cancer
was real
actually
life.
happened to her.
Right. Like, you watch this girl go through Corona. Like Corona happened while she was writing this book. Like the George Floyd thing happened. And like even the Yemen and Lebanon things that were going on, she put that in there. Like, she was inspirational. She really was.
Yeah, so that was like the story was really good, but her detailing of what she wrote was it was really, really good too.
Mm-hmm. Kudos to the writer.
Seriously, like, and thank you for sharing that with us. You don't have to share that with people, but that's dope she chose to do so.
She did, because she was writing that. Because guys, remember, this book was written back. So we were reading it now, but she was writing how she was depressed and she had anxiety and breakdowns, and she really put her all in these stories. So kudos to her.
Yeah, this was a good one.
It makes you really realize that, like, well, it made me realize while I was reading this book, and I was like, oh, like, us as readers are reading some of these stories and they stop and we're like, oh, we want to read the next chapter. When are we going to ever get it? But then it made me realize that some people really be going through it while they writing and stuff, and we be kind of hurry up, like, as readers, a lot of people, and I have done it too, will write like, hey girl, when you gonna put the next chapter out? When you gonna do that? And these people are going through life.
Yeah.
So they be going through it, and it's pressure on them when we write, oh, when you gonna put that next chapter out? Blah, 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 blah. I think that's a lot of the reason why you and I are writing our book like we are. Like, we're writing it slowly, but we're not gonna put it out until it's done.
Right.
So we don't have the pressure of people being like, what's the next chapter? Because I'm going to tell you, honey, I have let at least 3 to 4 people read what we've already written, and they are in love.
Really?
Yes. Like,
that's so cool.
Legit, I just was talking to my cousin about it, then I let a coworker read it, and she was like, oh my God, it's so good. She was like, I'm really wanting to get to the next chapter. I really want to read it. I'm like, okay, it's coming slowly.
It is coming. Yeah. I actually, after I do this stuff today, I'm going to start writing. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. A lot of people are liking it, but I say this to say this. Yeah. I can see the pressure.
Yeah.
On the girl to write it, and how she was going through stuff while she was putting out this story.
Right.
So, yeah, I learned something from this.
Yeah, it was definitely a very real experience to read.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a weird combo, because you got this fan fiction story and then her story, and you're like reading them at the same time. It was kind of weird, but I really enjoyed it.
Right.
So I shout out to you. I hope whatever, I know this was a couple of years ago, but wherever you are in your life, I hope things have gotten better for you.
Yes.
Yeah, that was real.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
thank you guys for. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping right over it.
How'd you feel about this story?
So I really liked the story. It was as we always say, the smut was really good, because it was, and I actually like the concept of it. I think it's really cool, and it's not something a lot of people are aware of or don't know if they're even into. I thought that was really cool. There were some parts of it that were, the detail was so detailed that you almost want to like skip past it.
Yeah.
I did skip past for some of it, because it was like the details of who was wearing what and where they were standing and it was just a lot.
Yeah.
But I like the overall story. I really, really enjoyed it, and like we kind of mentioned about the author sharing her life, I love that part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about it?
I liked the story. It was so good. I did want more details, as far as what's Joy and Jen gonna do? Like, I wanted those type of details. Like, I wanted this story to go on. Like, JK, I kind of wanted him to be the victim a little bit. Like,
the victim or the villain?
The villain. I'm sorry.
Oh,
because
yeah,
it wasn't a lot of drama in this story. I guess it was a breath of fresh air, but it makes you want to keep reading when you get that drama.
Yeah.
So that's why. But it was still a good story. It was still a good read. No, it just took us some time to read it because first of all, it was so long. But it didn't have that drama in it to make me like, oh, what happened? What happened next? Because you knew what was going to happen next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you did. I agree with you on that because I definitely, like I had mentioned earlier, thought the JK thing was about to go somewhere completely left. I thought, like, I did. I thought Jimin's coworker, the same thing. Like, but I am really glad it ended like it did, and they didn't do the typical thing. I like that it ended that way.
Yeah.
So.
It was good though.
It was good. Yeah, that is it for our episode this week. We are going to be choosing wait, that's not for the podcast, is it?
What?
The Jin story.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, you could talk about it.
Okay. So that we will be doing a TikTok story time. It'll be a Jin story. We're looking to do like a one shot, so a short story that we can review quickly on TikTok in about a minute or 5 minutes because we normally break it up. But
yeah,
we're trying to find a story that we can break down into to a TikTok. It is a Jin story. So if you guys have any recommendations, please send them to us. You can DM us on our TikTok. You can hit us up on Instagram or Twitter, or you can email us at doyoureadbts@yahoo.com. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.